Hey, 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 and welcome to the lecture on the midterm lab exam for 202. This lecture is designed to help you study the models and the images for the lab exam, the midterm lab exam. So congratulations, you made it to midterm. But you'll find this lab exam helpful as you start to study for the lecture exam. Hopefully the structure and the function and being able to identify will kind of go hand in hand. But what I would advise is you take out the document, this Word document right here, and I'd put it side by side. Think of that document as like a list of everything you need to know. Now, on the lab exam, you cannot use that document for spelling purposes. You have to be able to spell the words correctly, or I'll give you partial credit for incorrect spellings, but that is kind of like a word bank. Everything on that list you've got to know. There are some things labeled in the images that you don't have to know. So think of this as this Word document as everything you've got to know. And so I have here the PowerPoint pulled up and the Word document side by side, and I do this a lot, put two documents side by side like that so that I can view two things at one time, and that might be helpful for the lab activities. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. And so just kind of to show you how to do that, then I'll make the images bigger. You want to look at the image, and this is the only image for the endocrine system, so that's nice. So look at your list so the first thing on your list is the hypothalamus, so I'm right here. And you want to know where the hypothalamus is, and it's over here. Can you see my mouse? No, you can't. Okay, so right here is the hypothalamus. Okay, the second one is the pituitary gland. I'm going to go ahead and make this bigger for you. So check them off. We got the hypothalamus. The second one is the pituitary gland, and you'll see it right here, so it kind of hangs down, a little circle. And these are the exact images that I will use. So that'll be helpful in you studying. Okay, the third one is the thyroid, and remember the thyroid is in the neck like a bow tie, so the thyroid is right there like a bow tie. The pineal gland, right here, remember the clock, helps you wake up and go to sleep. The next one is the thymus, that's what makes the T, I guess I need to highlight the word, makes the T cells, the T lymphocytes. Okay, the pancreas is right here. So we'll know all about the pancreas with its digestive purposes on the next exam, but you already know the insulin and glucagon part. The spleen, which is not labeled. Okay, go ahead and mark spleen off your list, or maybe I'll take it off. I think I did take it off because it's not pictured. Okay, the adrenal gland is next, and the adrenal gland always sits on top of the kidneys. And so take a second and go over that. Ovaries and testes is not on your list, so that's nice. So you don't have to know those. They will not be on the exam. Take a second and go back down the list and make sure that you know all of the pieces for the endocrine system. Okay, and I provided a blank picture for you, and like I said, these are the pictures I will use. I provided a blank picture just so that we could practice. So let's try this. See if you know that one. Okay, so try to practice labeling all of those, and again, you want to practice spelling them correctly. I've seen students in class have whiteboards with a dry erase marker for practice spelling. Pause the video, see if you can answer all those, and then I'll go over the answers. And hopefully you're realizing that these words are much easier to spell than the 201 words were. Okay, number 1, we got pituitary gland. Number 2 is the thyroid. Number 3 is the pineal gland. Number 4, thymus. 5, pancreas. And 6, adrenal glands. Good. Okay, here's a picture of the heart. So we're moving on to the heart. Remember that the heart has 4 chambers. And, okay, so let's start at the top. We got the right and left auricle. The auricle is the little flappy part. So it's like flappy right there, where it's kind of wrinkly. Okay, the right atrium, that would be this whole chamber. Now, on the lab exam, I'll say, name this chamber. To kind of give you a hint, I'm not pointing at the auricle, I'm not pointing at something else. Let's see, is that chamber labeled? It's not. Okay, but you know what it is. So this would say, name this chamber. And you would know that that would be the right atrium. And just remember, on the lab exam, if you're looking at the screen, this over here is your right side, where I just did that little squiggle. But remember, this is the patient's left, and this is the patient's right. So hopefully that's helpful. Okay, the right ventricle would be this chamber. Okay, move on to the next opened up heart. And there you'll see the tricuspid valve. And there's the right atrium labeled. There you'll see that tissue is called chordae tendineae. So let's see if we see that anywhere. Here it is right here. The chordae tendineae, that's the fibers that are made of the valve. So I'll say on the lab test, what is the structure that this valve is made of, or something like that. Name this, not name this structure, but name, I guess, the structure the valve is made of. Okay, papillary muscle, that's going to be the muscle underneath the two AV valves. And it's right here, labeled on the right side. The superior vena cava is up here. And then, of course, the inferior vena cava is below, so that's the blue. Okay, pulmonary trunk, that's going to be this whole part right here. So that's your pulmonary trunk. And then over here, right here would be the pulmonary valve. So right there in the middle, that valve, remember that's a semilunar valve. So we highlighted pulmonary trunk and we highlighted pulmonary valve, which is over there. Okay, left and right pulmonary arteries. Remember from lecture that all arteries are red except the pulmonary arteries. And so the pulmonary arteries are blue. You'll see those here and here. Now, on the exam, I don't mind if you kind of abbreviate left and then write out the word pulmonary and then even A and V for artery and vein. So that's just an option to kind of help you out a little bit. You've got plenty of time. I gave you 2 minutes per question, which is more than enough. But it's way more than I would give you in class. And so hopefully that'll take some stress off and you won't be anxious. Okay, so we got pulmonary arteries, we got pulmonary veins. They're going to be blue. Okay, the left atrium is going to be this chamber here. Mitral valve or bicuspid valve, either one. Let's see, yeah, it says both of them, but either answer on the test would be perfect. Okay, aortic valve, you can't see it, so I won't ask it, don't worry about it. But it would be, I'll just tell you, it would be the valve that's right up under there, if there was one. But you can mark it off your list if you'd like. Okay, brachiocephalic artery. It's going to be on this page, so you'll see the brachiocephalic artery here. Okay, right common carotid artery, it's going to be right here. But let's go back to that very first image. Here. Right common carotid artery. So right there. It just says, so it is on that picture, right common carotid artery. And that's the one that goes up in the neck. So it goes all the way up. Okay, right subclavian artery, you should see here. Left common carotid artery, here. Left subclavian artery, here. Superior and inferior vena cava, you got that one already. Up and down, right? Okay, right and left brachiocephalic vein. It says on both sides there. Right and left subclavian vein. Right and left internal jugular vein. Okay, let's go back over this, because this part's hard, and I'm going to ask every one of them on the exam. So let me kind of point out some things that will hopefully make it easier. First of all, let me point out that anytime an artery or vein separates, it gets a new name. So you know that this is the superior vena cava, Well, then it separates. See how it separates out? And now we have two new names. Over here on this side, that's the left subclavian vein. And then over here on this side, that's the brachiocephalic vein. Okay, then, look at brachiocephalic. Then it separates into right internal jugular and right subclavian. So let's point out some different ways to look at these. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit on mine. Okay, so first of all, you have a common carotid and a jugular on both sides. The common carotid is the artery. The jugular is the vein. So that'll help, but they both run up the neck. So the veins, I think, are a little bit easier because when the superior vena cava separates, this is the brachiocephalic and this is the brachiocephalic. So that, to me, makes the veins a little bit easier. Okay, so now looking brachiocephalic and brachiocephalic. Remember, this is the left brachiocephalic. This is the right brachiocephalic. Okay, so when they separate out, you've got, watch my letters, you've got subclavian. Ooh, that color will not work, will it? Okay, you've got subclavian, jugular, subclavian. So S, J, J, S. If that, I'm visual, so that helps me. And remember, these are the exact pictures I'm going to use. So you've got over here right subclavian, right jugular, left jugular, right subclavian. So I can just remember that. S, J, J, S. And that's for just the veins. Now, take a second, pause the video, get those down pat. Now let's try the arteries. I think they're a little bit harder because they have, all three on the bottom have different names. Do you remember, my husband and I are big college football fans, big Alabama fans anyway, and how they used to decide who got to go to the national championship was called the BCS. Not anymore, now they have the committee or whatever. Anyway, so that helps me remember it. BCS. The first one is brachiocephalic. These are arteries. So brachiocephalic, common carotid, and subclavian. Okay, so BCS. Now, the B in brachiocephalic separates out, and it is right subclavian. Look at the word, below the clavicle. And then the common carotid, which goes up into the neck. So hopefully that'll help a little bit. So BCS, and then it separates out right subclavian and left subclavian. So let's practice those. I think I have a blank one here. Yeah. Okay, so go ahead and try it. Let's say if I had one. Let's try that again. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And you can bet I might ask all of those. Oh, let's try it right here. Let's make that 8 on both sides. Okay, number 1 is the left subclavian artery. Number 2 was right subclavian vein. I remember that number 8 was brachiocephalic because it was right down, but I lost the answer, so I'll go back and edit the video and put those in. I erased my page accidentally. Okay, just kind of going back and practicing. We didn't ever practice with this image, so let's try that one. This chamber I don't believe we went over that one yet, that artery. Okay, so that first one is the auricle. The second one is the atrium. That would be the right atrium. And then the third one right here, that would be the anterior interventricular artery. So anterior on the front, inter in between the ventricles. That's where the word interventricular comes from. And then artery. That would be your widowmaker. So hopefully you've studied your lecture notes already and you know that. Okay, let's try some more from this image. You've got, let's do that one. That one. And that one. Pause the video, try those real quick. Okay, the first one is the superior vena cava. The second one would be the aorta, and I'm not going to be super tricky like you have to put aortic arch or, just as long as you get aorta, we're doing good. And then the third one would be it's blue, so it's an artery. It's going to the lung, so it's pulmonary artery. That's the left pulmonary artery. Okay, so you got left coronary artery, right pulmonary vein, and inferior vena cava on that one. Good. On the opened up one, let's try a couple practice ones on that one. Let's say you want to know all the valves, or all three valves that you can see. So 1, 2, 3. Try those real fast. You got the pulmonary valve, tricuspid over here, and bicuspid over there. Okay, let's say name all 4 chambers. You want to know all 4 chambers. And remember, this question is going to say name the chamber. So that'll help you. Okay, if you can remember that this is left and this is right. You've got left. This one right here is left atrium, left ventricle, right atrium, right ventricle. That picture is nice. Isn't it how I squiggled on that? Okay, we already practiced that a couple of times. Okay, let's make sure we got everything on our list. Okay, make sure I did not point out, because I stopped too early, I do want to point out the coronary arteries right here and right there. And then this would be interventricular. So you'll see right and left coronary arteries, and then anterior interventricular. And they should be labeled right here. Okay, so you've got the coronary artery, whoops. You got right coronary artery, and then the left coronary artery, you can just barely see, it's real small. It goes right, it actually is right there too. It goes right up under the atrium. And then in between the ventricles right here would be anterior interventricular artery. But I'm going to ask you right coronary artery and anterior interventricular artery, probably. Okay, let's move on. Oh, I will not, next on the list is posterior interventricular artery. I will not ask that. It's not shown on the images, and so I will not ask that. Okay, inside you'll see is the coronary sinus. So here, let's see, right opening of the, remember, blood comes from the superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, and the coronary sinus. So that's that little opening. Okay, this part right down here, that's the apex of the heart. Okay, now let's look at, you want to practice those real fast? Try that one. Oops. That one. I'll have to put this portion of the heart, or this location of the heart, or something like that. That's all we got on that picture. Okay, so hopefully you got coronary sinus and apex of the heart. Okay, we practiced that one. Starting now with the body. Okay, the first one I want to point out is the hepatic artery. And it is right there. So you'll see it go H-E-P-A-T means liver. So it leads to the liver. Okay, superior vena cava is on here a bunch of times. So you'll see that one again up here. Okay, you already know the common carotid artery is here. But I could ask it on either image. Okay, internal jugular would be this one. That is not labeled. Okay. So that right there. Okay, then next is brachiocephalic, and you can't really see that on that image. I'm going to ask it on that close-up image, though. Okay, you know superior vena cava. Hopefully you know that one really well. Okay, aorta, we've got that one. That's going to be this one here. Right there, that big red one. Okay, let's point out the superior mesenteric vein and inferior. Okay, we haven't gotten to digestion yet, but on the intestines you've got this mesentery, and it's real important with the lymphatic system. But you'll notice that if you look really close at the abdominal aorta, so let me point that one out first. You'll see this is, let's see, where's it at? There we go. Abdominal aorta. So technically the aorta comes down. Let's take the aorta comes down, and all that right there, that's the abdominal aorta. Let me do that in another color. So the aorta comes down. That's the abdominal aorta. Right here. Right here's the abdominal aorta. It's actually thoracic aorta behind the heart. And then abdominal aorta right here. And then lumbar aorta down below. Okay, so from the aorta, you'll notice you've got the superior mesenteric artery and inferior mesenteric artery. And so it's all about where it comes from. So this one goes on top, and it goes to that mesentery. This one is on the bottom, and they both go to mesentery. So that's, you'll know superior and inferior that way. I don't believe I have the vein in here. But it looks the same way. Go ahead and mark it off your list unless we come across the paper. Okay, we got abdominal aorta. Check that one off. Okay, and then on the very bottom, you can see barely, you can see the common iliac on the right and the left. So that's going to be these right here. So let me highlight them for you. They're on the very bottom, right and left common iliac. So on either side there. Okay, let's practice this one. Okay, let's try. Oh, there's the spleen. Okay, there you go. There's your spleen. You can unmark it off your list. Spleen. I knew I took it off and then put it back on somehow. 2. So just that whole part. Not the little one, but the whole part. And then 3. Good. Pause the video. Try those. Hopefully you'll see that the first one is the spleen. The second one was the abdominal aorta. And the third one is the common iliac. That would be the left common iliac artery. Okay, let's try that one. 1. That one 2. We haven't gone over that one yet. And that one 3. Okay, so the first one is hepatic artery. Second one is the renal artery. So go ahead and check that one off. We went over it. And then the third one is the inferior mesenteric artery. So remember, you've got superior there and inferior there. So hopefully that'll help. Good. Next. Okay, so I just put this picture on here so you could actually see how the common carotid goes all the way up. Oops, there we go. Common carotid goes all the way up. And then you can kind of see how the subclavian go under the clavicle. So subclavian. And that image actually shows it on top, doesn't it? And you'll see brachiocephalic. And then the right. So you can just kind of see the extension of those from the heart that we looked at. And I may ask a couple questions from those on the test. Try this one. Maybe 1, 2, 3. Okay, so common carotid is the first one. Here. Subclavian here. And I won't ask you right or left. If you put that, that's fine. That'd be the patient's right. See if you can see that's his right side. And then the patient, that picture. And then the third one over here would be the jugular. So remember that the common carotid are arteries and the jugulars are veins. Okay, looking at the arm. So I want to point some out here. Okay, I'm looking at the list here. I left out, the next one on the list is middle sacral artery. So if you flip back to this picture, it's right there. It goes right in, like right where your sacrum is on the skeletal system. It goes right down the middle. So that'd be middle sacral artery. Okay, now flip to the leg. Okay, so you've got the external iliac. So I'll highlight that one here. External iliac. And then the internal iliac is here, just inside. So internal is the smaller one, external is the great big one. So check those off. Femoral arteries, so that's going to be right there. You don't have to know deep or whatever, you just have to know femoral artery. Okay, the next one, then on the list, the next thing is the cardiac conduction system. So let's stay consistent with our list. Here we go. You got the SA node here, the AV node here, AV bundle, which would be right there. So highlight that word. Right bundle branch and left bundle branch there. Okay, the Purkinje fibers are here. So I'm checking these off as we go down. Okay, so let's go back now to the other pictures. Okay, let's start right here on the arm. The axillary artery, axillary armpit. So you can see that one is there. Right and left brachial arteries. That's going to be the major artery in the arm. That's a test question, I believe, on the written test. Radial. So you got right and left brachial arteries. And then you've got the radial, remember thumb side. Radial arteries. Ulnar arteries, and like you don't have to know those other ones. So like if it's on the thumb side in the forearm, it's radial artery. If it's on the pinky side in the forearm, it's ulnar artery. So I'm not going to trick you and like give you this one. It's not on the list. You only have to know what's on the list. So that kind of narrows it down a little bit to make it easier. Okay, the femoral artery we already did in the leg. And then you can see those other ones on this paper. The list is done by the images, and so that's why you see brachiocephalic several times. And so you can see it from here. There's the brachiocephalic. Internal jugular should be here. And you don't have to know external jugular, so don't worry about that one. Subclavian vein. So you can, but I'm going to ask it on that close-up part that we practiced. Okay, auxiliary should be armpit. Let's see, is it labeled over here? Yeah, right there. Auxiliary artery. And then you'll see the radial on the thumb side, the ulnar on the pinky side. Right here on the arm, you'll see the cubital vein. It's right at the elbow. So the cubital vein. The femoral vein, we already covered that one. It's going to be in the leg. We covered the artery. Oops. Right there. There's your femoral vein. Greater saphenous vein here. You know inferior vena cava, of course, up at the heart. There is cephalic. Oh, man. Darn. Sorry. Every time I touch it, I forget. There we go. Cephalic. I'm writing on my iPad with my index finger in case y'all wonder. And the basilic vein. So those are both in the arms. And so let's practice some more. Okay, let's try that one. Whoops. A little too far in. That one, 2, 3, we can go ahead and try 4, 5, and 6. So try those 6. Okay, so this first one right here is the brachial artery. Second one, radial artery, ulnar artery. Okay, this is going to be the axillary vein. Okay, right here, see how it's right up at the elbow? That is the cephalic vein. I didn't put it on the little practice we're doing, but let's point it out. This one right here that goes crossways like that, that's the medial cubital vein. So you just have to know cubital vein. And then this one over here on the pinky side, that'd be 6. That's ulnar vein. So hopefully you got all those right. Okay, let's practice these. You got this big one right here. 1, 2, that little one, 3. So try those. Okay, so that first one you'll notice up high, that's going to be the external iliac. Now, after the split right there, there's your split. The number 2, oh man, I know what they were. That was 2. That was 1. Okay, so the first one was external iliac at the top, and then where it splits, it becomes femoral, and that little skinny one, number 3, is greater saphenous, or great saphenous. I learned it greater. Alright, and I hope this was helpful. You want to watch this video several times because the lab exams are a great opportunity to make 100. So you got the images, you have all the questions I could ask on the word bank. And so study really hard, watch this video 100 times, and make 100. Good luck.